And welcome to episode 322 of Geektown Radio. I am back this week on my own once again because it was MCM Comic-Con in Birmingham over the weekend, so haven't had a chance to put together a full show. So we've got some interviews and stuff coming up. I'm going to do some renewals and cancellations, and I'll do some air dates at the end of the show again for you, but this is going to be more of an interview show with some of the stuff that I collected from MCM Birmingham, which was wonderful to get back out there and see people. Lots of great cosplay photos which have gone up on our Instagram, which is at Geektown UK and Instagram if you go and look up that. And you can also find a whole bunch of videos which have gone up on youtube.com/Geektown. You can go and find those up on there. Some of them are video versions of the interviews which are in here. There is one, it's 40 minutes long. It's an interview with the wonderful, lovely John Rhys-Davies, who you will probably best know as Gimli from Lord of the Rings. He was also in the TV show Sliders as well, and we got told that we had 15 minutes with him, and John had rather other ideas, and it ended up being like this long 40-minute interview. It went off on some wild tangents from the questions he was answered. He was glorious. He was wonderful. I'm not going to put the whole thing out on here, but it is up on YouTube if you go to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Geektown for that. I'm going to jump straight in with renewals and cancellations. No cancellations this week as far as I can see. Couple of renewals. Channel 4 have renewed the Great British Bake Off for 3 more years. That includes all the surrounding ancillary shows as well. So lots and lots more Bake Off. Going to be around for at least 3 more years on Channel 4. So you'll be able to find all that. La Brea has been renewed for a second season at NBC in the US, which hasn't landed over here yet, although it is an NBC show, so you'd expect it to turn up on Sky at some point. This is the wonderfully bonkers series where a big sinkhole opens up in the middle of LA and a bunch of people fall into it and fall into some sort of primeval world. It sounds wonderfully weird and strange in the sort of vein of things like Zoo, but I am very much looking forward to that turning up at some point over here, but we haven't got an air date for it yet. But that's La Brea, and that's been renewed for a second season at NBC. We have got a bunch of new air dates for shows as well. There's a bunch of things dropped literally today because Peacock is now being integrated onto Sky. So if you go on to the on-demand section on Sky Q, if you go on to the catch-up section on Sky Go, I'm not sure where it is on some of the other things. It's also on Now as well. You can find a Peacock section which has got a whole bunch of TV shows on there, some older, some newer, some that haven't aired here before. So there's things like Quantum Leap is up on there if you want to go back and watch through the old episodes of things like Quantum Leap. Grimm is up on there, so you can go and watch all those. There's a whole bunch of really awesome old content. Warehouse 13 I think is there as well. In terms of the newer stuff, the Saved by the Bell remake is up there, so you can go and watch the first season of that. There is a comedy called Rutherford Falls, which is about 2 lifelong best friends who find themselves at a crossroads, quite literally, when their sleepy town gets an unexpected wake-up call. That's from Mike Saw, who's the guy that did The Good Place and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so I think that will probably be worth a watch. It stars Ed Helms, that comedy as well. So that's Rutherford Falls. I would go and check that out. There's a couple of older shows which have actually been cancelled in the US, as tends to happen with this, but they are there filling out content. There's Council of Dads, which was cancelled after 1 season, but that show is up on Peacock. There is a show called The Village as well, which is a drama about resident in an apartment building in Brooklyn. That's also up on there. So there's a whole bunch of different things. There's lots and lots of content being added now to Sky under Peacock, so you can go and find that. It's up there right now. It's on Sky Q. It's on Now. I think it's on Sky Plus as well, and you can find it on Sky Go. So go and check all that out over there. That's all the new stuff around at the moment and all the news and bits and pieces. Now we're going to move on to some interviews. So this weekend was MCM Comic-Con in Birmingham, second MCM Comic-Con this year, first one being in London, which was a few weeks ago, and we've got Wales Comic-Con as well, which is randomly in Telford, but we're not getting into that. Wales Comic-Con coming next weekend as well, so there may be some more interview stuff next week as well. But this week at Birmingham, I got to sit down with the cast of the brilliant video game Red Dead Redemption 2. We got 3 of the main cast members from that. So Roger Clark, who plays Arthur Morgan, Rob Wiethoff, who plays John Marston, and Peter Blomquist, who plays Micah Bell. We'll start off with the interview with Roger Clark, who plays Arthur, who is the sort of main character in Red Dead Redemption 2. These were roundtable interviews, so it's not just me asking questions. You will hear other people as well. Here's the interview with Roger Clark. Was with Red Dead Redemption 2, was that your first experience using mocap?
No, I did it before here actually, somewhere near Oxford, I believe. It was his first studio. It was a joint production by Rebellion Games and ADOS, and that was about 16 years ago. And we did a game called Shell Shock 2, which is a lot of zombies and Vietnamese and Vietnam War, and it was a lot of fun. And I was fascinated from then about that medium. It's fascinating to me. And to see the way the technology has progressed since has been a real privilege. I love it. I love performance capture. I love it a lot. As it gets better and better, it just affords more and more freedom to the performers. It's pretty cool. It takes a lot of imagination, but I love it.
Yeah.
So Russell from Red Cat News is up next.
Hi. It's amazing to have you with us. Obviously, during the panel, it was very clear from the audience how much of a phenomenon this franchise is, and I think fans have been especially excited that we've had some tacit confirmation that the franchise is definitely continuing. From Take-Two, the CEO, I think, sort of announced that's the plan.
Oh, yeah.
So that is now officially the position. Given that, I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about why you think the series is already such a big phenomenon and where you're hoping the future of the games takes us.
Yeah, well, Westerns is always the first film genre, I know, and I think there's something about it that has a universal appeal, like expanding into the unknown, and living in a lawless world where it's you against nature and what have you. And I think those themes were carried on, and Rockstar translated them beautifully into gaming, and so much so that there hasn't really been many other games approaching the Western genre the same way that Red Dead did. So to be a part of it has been a real massive privilege. And I mean, I don't know where I think Arthur's story has definitely been told, but what I'm Strauss-Zelnick, he did confirm it, and I would be very surprised if we've seen the last of this franchise, because their fans just responded so well to it. And I remember when we were working on Red Dead 2, and how much I was a big fan of the first Red Dead, and all I was going for was that it would be as liked as the first one, and I think we achieved that. So I'm very, very grateful. But where it would go from now, I have no idea. But I have all confidence in Rockstar Games, and one of the things they never fail to do is to surprise, and they're expert storytellers, and it was a joy working with them. And whether or not I'd be a part of it in the future, I have no idea, but I'm sure they're going to do a great job.
Okay, so the next one is Ryan from Geeky Birmingham.
Hi, Ryan.
Hello. So video game technologies evolved rapidly over the last 2 decades. VAs are more important than ever, especially with performance capture now. Where do you think it's going to evolve next?
Well, I think voice acting is still a significant part of it, but performance capture is becoming a bigger and bigger and ever-increasing section of it. Like 20 years ago, it was all exclusively voice acting. Maybe not exclusively, but performance capture is definitely here to stay. And like I was saying earlier, seeing that technology unfold in front of your very eyes, it's been a massive privilege, and I'm just fascinated by the whole concept of it, because you have a mocap studio and you're in Antarctica in the morning and you're in medieval England in the afternoon, and all it changes really is the animators and the developers' imagination. So it's a fantastic medium, and even with COVID too, it's a lot safer to work in a mocap environment than would you like a typical film set, because you can cheat People don't need to be standing right next to each other. The animators can do that in post. You can even change the camera angle in post if you want. What you think could be a wide shot could actually turn into a close-up in the end. So bearing that in mind, as an actor, you start to think, well, I know what they think this shot might be now, but that could change in the future. So you tend to lean a bit more towards the theatrical than as the subtle little nuances of film performance. It's really only in cutscenes where you get close-ups, and most of the time they're going for as wide a shot as possible so that the gamer can see as much of their environment as possible. So it does add for a bit more physicality, I think. But there's so many different ways to do it, and no studio does it. No two studios do it the same way, and it's really fascinating to see the way different people work and whatnot. I just see it becoming a bigger part of the video game industry, and we're starting to see that happen with the film industry now too. I think it's only a matter of time before we start seeing mocap suits filmed in tandem with on set. We're kind of seeing that already with Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, and I think Disney and Marvel have done some really fascinating stuff. And now with Obi-Wan Kenobi, I can't wait. That technology that they did for The Mandalorian, that is amazing. So, yeah, on-set location filming, I think, is becoming less and less necessary. But when that happens, the performer needs to be more imaginative. If you're in a cold environment, you got to remember to be cold. If it's a hot, sweaty environment, you got to be swatting flies every once in a while. So I think motion capture, when you get experienced at it and you start to remember those little details, and that brings the realism to the audience that I think we're still going to need. But as far as the technology is going, I have no idea where they're going with it, but I'm sure it's going to keep going. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on for Daniel from Geek Pride.
Hi.
Hello.
Really sorry to came in a bit late. Obviously, you've just talked about motion capture and the endless possibilities. Do you feel that this has helped you adapt in such a way that you can improvise a bit more and bring sort of a little bit more element of yourself into the character?
Absolutely. Some like I said, some studios do it differently. But the performer can really bring in a lot more nuances of their own personality, if you will. But again, it depends on the script. You work with the script you're given. You can complain and argue with it, but, that usually doesn't bode well. We've all got jobs to do, so it's our job to do them. But yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of freedom. Performance capture lends a lot of freedom to all aspects of the performance. Absolutely.
So thanks very much, guys. That was the last question for Roger.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for your time.
It's possible to lose your favorite lines, maybe a couple of them, if possible.
I remember one line I really liked was, oh gosh, how did it go again? It's Arthur talking to John. He's saying, I was the prize pony once, but this life, this way, we're the last, I reckon, and we ain't long for it. Because Arthur knew that the Wild West was coming to an end, and that's a big source of conflict in Red Dead 2. Because some people acknowledge that this way of life is coming to an end, and other people can't acknowledge that, and that causes a lot of strife. But Arthur saw the writing on the wall, and that's my favorite line. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was the interview with Roger Clark. Next up, we have Rob Wiethoff, who plays John Marston, who, of course, was the main character in the first one and was a secondary character in the second game. Talk to him about sort of coming back and how it felt to be back in the franchise. Again, a roundtable interview, so there's various people asking questions here. Here's the interview with Rob.
How did it feel returning to the character of John Marston?
Oh, wow. Really, really great to be back with so many familiar faces, people that I enjoyed working with so much the first time around. And, of course, Undead Nightmare, too. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. But I was going back to work with and hang out with friends. And I really enjoyed that. My character was very different. It was, young John, obviously, was very different than what you see at the end of Red Dead Redemption. And that was fun. It was a bit of a challenge in a way, because I was always told John he's never going to back down from anyone ever. He's not afraid of anyone at all. And I thought, that's great. I love that. That's so cool. And so, empowering as an actor to know that that's the personality of the person you're playing. But then, Arthur Morgan and so many other people too just didn't give John a whole lot of respect. And John just kind of had to take it. And I thought, this is very different, and I enjoyed it. It was a challenge. But I can say that when I was younger, when I was a freshman in high school, my sister was a senior in high school. And I always looked up, of course, to the older people, as we do, and I would always try to crack jokes and try to fit in with them. And they'd always kind of look at me like, no, man. And I thought, I'm so frustrated because I want to be cool like you. I want the respect you all get. And so I related to that. And so that helped a lot. But of course, it was great to be back with Rockstar. Really, really cool. Obviously talented, inspiring people. So enjoyed it a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next is Russell from Red Carpet News.
That would be me. It's amazing to have you with us. I think, obviously, Red Dead is a phenomenon. It would be interesting to hear why you think that is, and given that we've had very exciting news in the last day or so that the franchise is officially continuing, that's now been confirmed by the CEO of Take-Two, where are you hoping that phenomenon goes to next? What are you hoping for from the future titles?
Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Of course, I'm enjoying every second of it. It's been great here. I'm so happy to be here. And, it is kind of wild, I guess, because of the history of Rockstar and their success. Probably people just assumed, I'll buy this game if it's made by Rockstar. It's probably good. I don't know that anybody assumed that it would be loved as much as it is, but I think, it's because of the writers, because of everyone involved. I promise you, when you're on the set and you're around these people, they're all not only very talented, but they're very encouraging, not only to the actors, but to each other. And it's a really cool environment where they all feed off of each other, and it's a very inspiring place to be. So one of the things that the director would say to me, when I would talk to him about, how does that look when you guys have meetings and you talk about what you're going to shoot the next time we get together and you're scheduling everything out, whatever. He said that Rockstar, every time they make a game, they try to make not only the best video game that they can based off of previous games that they've ever made or whatever, but they want to make the very best video game that has ever existed every time they make a game. So when you have people with that intention and people with that kind of teamwork and capability, I think it's possible to do what it did, and I think that's really why. So as far as the franchise goes, I would love more than anything to be able to play John Marston for as long as they want me to be. I promise you I enjoy every second of it. Having said that, I don't know what time frame it would be. I don't know. I don't have any information that you don't have, by the way. So however they do it, though, we know that people love the franchise, and whether John's part of it or not, I'll still be excited about it. Of course, I want to be part of it, but we'll just see and be excited, because I'm sure it's going to blow us all away again.
Great.
Okay, and next is Ryan Parish from Geeky Brommy.
So there's been quite a lot of video game adaptation movies recently, and some questionable casting decisions on some of them, if you say that. If there was a Red Dead Redemption movie, would you hope that you'd be in the role?
Of course I would. Yes, of course I would hope that. And I think, it's the thing about video games that a lot of people don't understand is that, especially recently, a lot of the performance is actually performance capture. So some people just assume that we're all in a sound booth and we're doing the voices of these characters that are animated or whatever. We actually walk around and perform the scene. So I don't look like John Marston, but every movement you saw him do, same with Arthur Morgan, Micah Bell, any of them, those were actual people on a stage doing that acting. So if, unless you want to say that one of us doesn't look tough enough or whatever, I think people appreciate the performances that they received through Red Dead Redemption 2. When people say, who would you like to be cast as your character, I think I'd like a shot at it. Otherwise, I don't know, anybody, whatever, do it, do your thing and enjoy it. It's a really cool role, and my goodness, who would be the best at it? I don't know. Hopefully me, if they ever do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next is Daniel Delargy from Geek Pride.
Going all over the place. Hello. So, talked a lot about adaptations and the brand or franchise. Did you expect to come back? Did you expect to come back after the first game?
No, I didn't. Well, and I don't know. I'm sorry. Is that your full question? Do you have more?
No.
Okay. Well, so I guess I don't. I think the game's been out for almost 15 years now. Maybe it has. But Red Dead Redemption has an ending, which was pretty final for the character that I played. And so I thought, it would be really cool. Then it wasn't long after we finished Red Dead Redemption that we started working on Undead Nightmare, which is a DLC and much smaller. But, when that was done, I thought that's really probably the end of it. Like the DLC was kind of a surprise to me. And there's no guarantee. And like I said before, I don't get any more information than anybody else does until it's the time to get it started. And then I know. But for me, it's speculation just like anyone else. But I really thought, that was the end of it for me. And I enjoyed the opportunity that I had up until that point and was very appreciative of it. But I got a call out of the blue from the director, and he asked me if I was interested in doing more work. So when we did Undead Nightmare, there was a guy, and I can't remember what his name was or which GTA he was even from, but one of the playable characters to a previous GTA game came and did a role that was very unlike what he did in GTA. But it was kind of like hey, come back and just work for 3 or 4 days with us. Just do it one more time. It'll be fun. Almost like a weird cameo kind of thing, but not whatever it was. It was just like, come back, work on this, be a crazy character, and enjoy it, have fun. And so when they called me, I thought that's for sure what's going on. They're going to have me come in and play some role that's got nothing to do with John or Red Dead Redemption. Anyway, found out it was a prequel and ended up working for way longer on Red Dead Redemption 2 than I ever did on Red Dead Redemption and Undead Nightmare combined. So I guess never say never. But who knows? And again, whatever they come up with to continue this franchise, I'm sure will be great whether I'm part of it or not. But I'm back in that same boat now where, I don't think that I'll probably be there. I don't know how I would, but we'll see.
Brilliant. That's all we have time for. So, Rob, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Is it possible to do one or two couple of your lines? Yeah, like your favorite, just very short one.
That's okay with you guys.
Very short.
We've got 1 minute.
Okay.
1 minute.
So looking at you then, people don't forget. Nothing gets forgiven. I just wrote a bunch down actually in my phone. Something like this is going to happen. I tried to do one the other day and I completely flubbed it. I'm going to try it again right now. Let's see if I do it any better now. Some trees flourish, others die. Some cows grow old, others get taken by the wolves. Some men are born rich enough and dumb enough to enjoy their lives, Abigail. Ain't nothing fair. I got it. I actually got it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's the Red Dead 3 audition tape. Wish you the best of luck. We'll be in touch if you get the part.
That was the interview with Rob Wiethoff. Next up, we have Peter Blomquist, who played the main antagonist in Red Dead Redemption 2, Micah Bell. He's a lovely, wonderful guy and really couldn't be more opposite from the character he plays in the game at all. He was great to sit down and chat with. So here's the interview with Peter, who played Micah Bell in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Lovely to have you here. Who was your inspiration for Micah? Where did you sort of find that character?
It's a good question. I've been asked that a couple of times, and I do not have a very clear answer. Meaning, I didn't draw specifically from any particular source. So when I came into to do the character, I didn't know how far Micah was going to go, that he was going to end up doing what he eventually does. So I was given a little bit of information at a time. So I just let my brain go like that and just made some choices. And the director was like, yeah, those seem to be working. So just the twisted parts of my brain is where I went into to come up with the character.
Good. Thank you.
Brilliant. And next up, we've got Lewis Palin from Rockstar Games.
Peter, it's me.
How's it going?
Great to meet you. To be here.
Yeah.
One question I've got for you is, working on Red Dead Redemption 2, what were your expectations of playing Micah Bell? And how well do you think his character fit in with the Red Dead series?
Well, my expectations going in, I had very few expectations, because at first, with the beginning of the job, I had no idea the extent of the game, the scope of the game, and it was only after, as the weeks went on and then the months went on working on it, and we realized, oh my God, this is like a big thing that's happening here, much bigger than we thought. And of course, I knew right off the bat that Micah was not all okay up in his head. And that as the months and then years went on, it became clear that what his role was eventually going to be. But that kind of unfolded as we went along. So in a way, it was a bit of an organic process. So yeah. Does that answer the question? Yeah. Did I answer it? Okay.
Next up, Russell from Red Carpet News.
That would be me. Again, brilliant to have you with us.
Thank you.
I guess two questions. The first one is the big one, which is, why do you think that Red Dead is both the gaming and the pop culture phenomenon that it so clearly is? And the second part of that, obviously, we've recently had the exciting confirmation that the franchise is going to continue. CEO of Take-Two has confirmed we're definitely getting more in that world. Do you have particular excitement, particular hopes for where the rest of the series may take us?
Well, to answer the first part regarding why I think Red Dead became as popular as it is in today's culture, and why people latched onto it, that's a good question. Obviously, Rockstar puts a lot of time and effort and detail into the stuff that they come out with. And so a lot of it is because this is a game unlike, as far as I'm concerned, any other game in that realm. The vastness of it, the open world, the fact that the actions that you may take may have consequences down the line that you don't even realize until later. And I think, and especially during lockdown time, I would hear this from fans, that it became a genuine way of escaping, of basically getting out of the house when you couldn't otherwise, and you could feel like you have this other life, and it wasn't just about killing people. You could just ride your horse around the mountains and go peacefully fishing and hunting, and people would do that for hours and hours, and get enjoyment out of that. Regarding the second part, I have no idea. I haven't heard anything. So yeah, I wish I could answer more of that question or answer it at all, but I don't know.
I guess you don't know what's going to happen. Is there things that you'd like to see? Are there things that, having been part of that world, is there parts of it you think could be explored more in terms of the characters or just the general setting?
I think that there could always be more to explore in that world because it's so vast and it's such a great environment, and they created such a phenomenal setting and spent so much time on it. It would be great to be able to spend more time in that world, or even an expanded version of it. So I'd play it. That's the best I could give you, I think. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant, guys. I think we do have a couple more minutes. We've got an if time here.
Okay.
Someone have a second question?
You mentioned on stage yesterday and just now that you have you don't get like all the script. You don't even necessarily know where the story is going either. How difficult is that as an actor to approach where you've kind of been given this sort of character but you've got no idea where any of it's going?
Right. Well, we would get just enough to certainly work on to be able to understand the scene we're doing. As far as the far-reaching effects of that, or where it may lead way further down in the game, we might not know that. But I feel like we were also given maybe some information about where something may lead to down the line, although we may not have seen the script directly. But they would give us enough to give us a path. And then, what was required of us often was to basically roll with it, make choices as actors, come up with our justifications and reasons for doing what we're doing, and then counting on Rockstar and the director to say, maybe you feel this way about something. Maybe you want to move in this direction. We go, okay, and do that. That's good. That's going to work.
Yeah.
And then we would do that until it made sense. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's everything.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Great. Thanks.
We've got a question from Twitter. Quickly, if that's all right.
Yeah,
It's quick, It's from Dave137 who asks, he says, we know about Roger and Rob's emotional experiences on set with acting with their relevant characters, but did you also find it emotional playing Micah Bell with him being the storyline's antagonist?
Probably very different than their answers. For me, I had a lot of fun playing Micah because it's fun to be, an asshole and not really get any consequences. It's not fun to be an asshole in real life, but to do a pretend one, it was great fun. And, and it did become quite intense, especially towards the end. And of course, the final scene with Arthur and Micah. I think physically it took a lot out of me. Emotionally, though, it was in a way a wonderful little escape into a messed up part of my own head. And then at the end of the day, it's gone. It's done. So there you go. Thank you.
So that was the interview with Peter Blomquist. Next up, we move out from under Red Dead Redemption and on to another huge franchise, arguably one of the biggest in the world, Star Wars, where there was a stage panel with Ian McDiarmid, who, of course, you will probably all know, played Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars. I can't play out the whole panel because we're not allowed to do that, so I've got 3 separate clips from the panel with him talking about various things that he did on Star Wars. The first one is Ian talking about how he first landed the role.
You probably know this now, but I met George very briefly one lunchtime with Richard Marquand, and I didn't know they were looking for an emperor. They thought they already had one, but the actor whom they cast was much older than I then was, probably about the age I am now, and he couldn't take the contact lenses, so they couldn't go ahead. And they suddenly needed an emperor. And the casting director had seen me play an old person, actually Howard Hughes, in a play in a small theatre in London. And so she said to George, this guy's in his late 30s, but he can probably be convincing as an old man. So George took her word for it. And over that lunchtime, and we just chatted about the weather as far as I could remember, he decided that I was good for the part, and you know the rest. But I never imagined it would go on for, well, a long saga. And the last time, of course, they asked me to rejoin was the biggest surprise of all, because I thought I was dead. I think you all thought I was dead. But you shouldn't have really, and nor should I, because he's very clever, this guy. Obviously, he had a backup plan. He knew someone might try to destroy him. So he had a whole system in place, a kind of private hospital where various terrible things were injected into his body in order to keep him alive. And you saw a bit of that in the movie. Actually, there was a bit more of it in the script, and we filmed a bit more, but we didn't want to make it too gruesome. And I had this wonderful machine, which also kept him going. It moved around the studio. It was operated by about 5 people. I was well strapped in, and I could fly, and that word again, zoom, all around the studio, come in close to the other actors, or get right above them on the ceiling. So that was exciting.
So that was Ian talking about how he landed the role. The next clip is him talking about, well, I think every person that involved in Star Wars once is talking about how it felt getting a lightsaber.
Yeah, well, everybody gets thrilled to have their own lightsaber. I was slightly disappointed. I thought, Palpatine with a lightsaber? He doesn't need one. It's all in his fingers. But of course he wasn't, he was Palpatine there, but he wasn't the Emperor, so he had to start somewhere. And of course, clearly he was a master swordsman too. A master swordsman, I ain't. Especially when faced with the brilliance of Ewan and Hayden, as I told you about early on. But of course I had to rehearse and do it up to a point. And I had a very brilliant stunt double who looked a bit like me too, so that was helpful. So he did most of the work, obviously. But, I had to do all the stuff for the close-ups. And Sam was very patient, especially when I hit him a couple of times inadvertently. He was very good, as you might imagine.
And the last clip we have with Ian is him talking about his favourite Palpatine scene.
The scene in the opera, or ballet, I think it was, where I finally seduce Anakin to the dark side. He's almost trapped by the logic of what the Emperor says. It's also one of the longest dialogue scenes, I think, in the Star Wars movie. So it gives me, as an actor, an opportunity to develop that particular trope. I love acting with him anyway, so that was a sort of bonus. We did it on a very strange Friday afternoon in Australia. And usually Friday afternoons in Australia, as everywhere else, people, well, in Australia, they can't wait to get to the beach, really, for the weekend. It was also the first assistant director's birthday, and a little gold person was in the background with a trolley with champagne on it, and obviously that was going to come in at some point, and I could hear the glasses rattling. The producer, who was always on his mobile phone, that kept going off, and there was a cordoned off area, which is sort of called the Video Village, where people and their guests from outside would watch the scene being filmed. I'd also that afternoon done a lot of work where my voice changes into the Emperor's voice, so I was a bit hoarse. And I said to George, well, it's 4 o'clock on Friday, I'll do my best, but isn't this one that could wait till Monday? He said, no, well, we'll just do it, and we can do it again on Monday if it doesn't work. And so my voice was a bit hoarse. If you ever want to replay that, you'll see that. And I said to George, were you worried about the voice? He said, no, Ian, no, it's great. It sounds as if he's in transition. Transition from, I suppose, the Chancellor to the evil man. And we did it 20 times, and we never rehearsed it. We'd never gone through the lines. There wasn't time. Hayden was always busy. If he wasn't filming, he was rehearsing fights with you and so on. And it was a long scene, but we just did it. And despite the fact that the producer's mobile phone went off about 4 times, and you never stop, it went relatively well. So we did 20 takes, and all of them were fine. And at the end of the day, he said, well, we're coming back on Monday, but we finished the stuff on you, and now we'll be on Hagen. So it was a strange and remarkable day. But as I said before, the real reason I like that scene is because what it does to the relationship between the later Emperor and the later Darth Vader, it cements it. It provides him with no avenues to escape.
So those are the 3 clips that we have with Ian. There will be some other clips going up on YouTube as well. They will be different for this, so you can go and find those on YouTube. They're going up later this week, so go and check out youtube.com/Geektown for those. Now we'll move on to some highlights for next week on TV. So, highlights for next week. We have Tiger King returning for a second season. That's on the 17th of November. I mean, the first season was a huge phenomenon. I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go with the second season of that. But that's on Netflix on the 17th of November. That's Tiger King Season 2. Over on Star on Disney Plus, we have Marvel's Hit Monkey, which is another animated series that's coming on the 17th of November as well, which is about a high-profile political assassination which goes wrong, and the injured hitman hides out amongst a tribe of snow monkeys in the mountains in Japan. Sounds wonderfully bonkers, but that's Marvel's Hit Monkey. That's coming to Star on Disney Plus on the 17th of November. We have Riverdale returning also on the 17th of November. That's on Netflix for season 6. And we have Work in Progress, the second season of that, to returning to Sky Comedy on the 17th of November at 9 p.m. if you want to go and see that. Over on Sky Max, we have Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol, which is, of course, based on the Dan Brown novels. That is coming to Sky Max on the 18th of November. That's at 9 p.m. Over back on Netflix on the 19th of November, we have Cowboy Bebop, which is the live-action version of the worldwide phenomenon, which is the animated series. So that's Cowboy Bebop. That's coming on the 19th of November. That looks like it could be really interesting. Also over on Amazon Prime on the 19th of November, Wheel of Time, which is this epic fantasy series based on the Robert Jordan novel series. That looks good. I've seen a few clips from that. It looks like that's going to be a great show. So go and check that out. That's Wheel of Time, season 1, coming to Amazon Prime on the 19th of November. Over on YouTube, randomly, although it is airing a couple of days later on E4, Games Master, the revival of the cult classic TV gaming show, that is back. There have been a few videos and stuff of that floating around. It does look really, really good. They've got Trevor McDonald doing the Games Master role this time around, replacing the wonderful Sir Patrick Moore. That's coming to YouTube on the 21st of November, and then I think it's coming on the 23rd or a couple of days later on E4 if you want to catch it on TV instead. But that's Games Master, the revival, that is back. Over on Stars Play on the 21st of November, we have Power Book 2 Ghost. Season 2 of that lands over on there. That's on the 21st of November. And back on Netflix, Masters of the Universe Revelation, which is the Kevin Smith limited series. That is returning for the part 2 of that. That is on the 23rd of November. And that's Masters of the Universe Revelation. That lands on there. That's everything we've got for you this week. I'm not sure whether we're back for a normal show next week or whether it's going to be more interviews. It depends how exhausted I am after I come back from Wales Comic-Con next weekend. We'll see. It'll be either a normal show or another set of interviews. For other people, of course, throughout the week, you can go and look for Bex over on twitch.tv/Trista Bytes, who is streaming daily and also various evenings, so lots of fun and games over there. For more podcasts, you can go and find Matt over on entertainmenttalk.org for lots and lots of stuff over there, including the Walking Dead World Beyond podcast, which we're doing over there. And for Daryl, you can go and find him at hollywoodnorthnews.net for all the TV series you love, which are shot in Canada. For us throughout the week, you can go to geektown.co.uk to see all the latest air dates and lots more news. If you want to get in touch with your questions or comments, email us on podcast@geektown.co.uk. Leave a message on the website post. Find us at Geektown on Twitter, on Facebook at facebook.com/Geektown, on YouTube at youtube.com/Geektown, and on Instagram at Geektown UK. That is everything. We shall see you again next week. Bye bye.